Welcome back to PSC Tech Byte. Today I'm going to show you how you can use a service principal account to configure a backend API in a custom connector for the Power Platform. In fact, Microsoft recently introduced the capability which allows you to rely on a client ID, client secret and tenant ID instead of a specific user account to consume a backend API through a Power Platform connector. In order to do that, you will need to use application permissions, but it will enrich your capabilities and give you the capability to use a long-running token when consuming a backend API. So let's move to the demo environment and let's see how to do that in practice. So let's say that I want to create a custom Power Platform connector to create a theme using this Microsoft Graph endpoint, so the create theme, which is available under the /themes endpoint, which requires the theme.create permission, either delegated or application, and which will require this request under delegated permission or this request body under the application permission request. So let me do that. First of all, let me go to the Power Platform and let me create a new custom connector from blank. The name could be PSC's Tech Byte Demo, just for the sake of giving it a random name. Click on continue. Then I will specify the URL that I want to use for my target API, which is graph.microsoft.com, and it will target the version 1.0 of the Microsoft Graph. Let me move to security and let me configure that I want to use open authorization from a security point of view, and I want to target a specific application that I'm going to create. So let me go to my Azure Entra ID and let me create a new application, which will still be PSC's Tech Byte Demo connector, for example. And once it will be registered, I will copy the application ID and the tenant ID in a safe place. So let me create a new Notepad file where I'm going to copy and paste the application client ID, the tenant ID, and I will also, under certificates and secret, create a new client secret for this application, which I will get rid of as soon as I will have completed the recording of this demo. So let me copy the secret and let me paste it right here. And now, from an API permission point of view, I want to grant the permission to create a theme from a delegated point of view, just in case I want to use a user token, theme.create. Or I will also add the application permission to this app. So I will select application permission, and again, I will search for theme.create permission. And here we are. Once I've done that, I grant the permissions to this application using a tenant global admin account, and I'm almost ready to fully configure my connector. So here I can specify what the ID is for my client application, which is this one. I can specify eventually the tenant ID, or I can leave it to common. I can specify the secret for my application, the authorization URL, and all the other stuff needed. But right now, here we are on a generic authentication with open authorization. I want to switch to Azure Active Directory. So I will specify again and one more time the client ID, the client secret, and I will leave common, and as the resource URL will be the resource URL of Microsoft Graph, so graph.microsoft.com, which is the unique URI of all of the APIs provided by Microsoft Graph. And then the permission scope that I want to use is theme.create. Once I've done that, I can also enable the service principal support so that I will be able to use the service principal instead of an explicit user account. So let me move to the definition. I don't want to save it. Let me create a new action. The new action will be, for example, the action to create a theme. So let me copy it also as the operation name, and the description will be just create a new theme. Then, from a request point of view, I want to import the definition of the request, which will be a post request for the themes endpoint under Microsoft Graph, and the body of the request will be something like the following, which is something that we have in the documentation. So we can go here and we can say the request will be made like this one. So let me paste it right here, and this will be my request to import. Okay? Now, from a response point of view, we can see that whenever there will be a successful response, will be a 202. So we can simply say that the response will be a 202, and that's it. We don't need to specify any additional information about the structure of the body of the response. Now we are good. We can create the connector. It will take a while, and once it is ready, we can switch back to the security panel and we can copy the redirect URL for the application that we want to use while authenticating, so that we can configure the authentication section of the application in Azure Entra ID. As soon as it will be ready, we will then be ready to copy the URL. So it is almost done, and here it is. I can go back to security and I can copy this URL and paste it right here under authentication. I can create a web platform and I can specify the URL that I just copied. By doing that, my application is fully configured. So I can go back to my connector and I can jump to the test section where I can create my connection. If I want to use the service principal, by clicking on new connection, because we have configured both the settings for a regular user-based connection and for the service principal connection, we need to choose if we want to use the open authorization connection, which will prompt us for a set of credentials of a specific user, or service principal, which will prompt us to provide the client ID, the secret, and the tenant ID. So let me do that. Let me switch to the settings that I copied before. This is the application ID. This is the secret that I copied, and this will be the client ID, the tenant ID of the tenant that I want to target. And I can click on Create Connection. By doing that, now I can consume my target environment using this test panel. So I will specify the template ID, first of all. Let me also refresh this one to see if we have the connection, and here we have it. So I can provide as the theme template this one, so this value. It will be the regular standard template for a theme. And then as the display name, PSC's Tech Byte Demo Theme, which can also be the description. Before hitting the test operation, let me open Teams and let me show you that the theme is not yet there. So it will show up as soon as I will trigger the creation. So let me go to Teams. Here you can see I have a bunch of themes created, but I still don't have that one. So let me click on test operation. Takes a while and we get an exception. And the reason why is that I forgot to specify the owner of the site. So I can switch to row body, and instead of providing just this data, I can also say that I want to specify a theme owner. So let me copy this part of the request, because now we are running with application only, and let me add it to the request. And here I have to specify the unique ID of the user that I want to use as the owner. So let me switch to graphmicrosoft.com, so I can even go to aka.ms/ge to go to the Graph Explorer. I can make a query for myself and I can get the ID of my current user, so that I will place myself as the owner of the theme. So let me do that. Let me copy the value right here and let me test the operation again. And boom, now we have got a 202 response, which is what I was looking for. And then we can see that right here we have the PSC's TechByte demo theme that has been just created using the Power Platform custom connector that I created right here. Like always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.